Hey everyone, I have a great Dollar Tree Christmas crafting video planned for you. This is my first one for the 2025 season, and I am off to a great start. I think you're going to love these crafts. So we're going to jump right into today's video. Before we do though, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you like what you see here and the little bell so you're notified every time I post a video. Let's get into the first craft. The next time you're at Dollar Tree, if you take a gander down what I call the home goods aisle, it's where all the candles are and vases and stuff like that, you should be able to find these little cute ceramic gift boxes. They have a cute little bow on them. They're not specifically Christmas, but I thought they would make the cutest little tea lights. So to begin this project, I decided to paint just the bow on the box. I'm starting off with this black acrylic paint and I'm painting just the bow. These are not going to stay black. This is going to be a nice little bow, but the black has to act as a base layer for the next part that I'm going to do to stick. So I painted the bow on the top and the ribbons going down the sides as well. For the second little gift box that I picked up, I thought I was going to do something a little different. You'll see at the end that I ended up just doing the same thing, but I thought maybe a little green would look nice, but the acrylic paint just wasn't really sticking that well, and it was looking very washed out, and I couldn't just get it to look good. So I did end up just scratching the green, but again, the green is going to act as a base layer anyways, so it doesn't matter. Next, I'm going to use this Rub and Buff in European Gold, and I'm going to brush it over top of the acrylic paint. If I were to just start with the Rub and Buff, because these little boxes have a high gloss sheen on them, the Rub and Buff would not stick at all. So you need that acrylic paint to act as your base layer to get the Rub and Buff to stick. Once I had this done, I moved on to the green one. And again, here I tried doing just a light layer of the gold to see if it would look nice. I wasn't really happy with it, so I ended up doing the same thing on the first one. Next, I went up to my kitchen. I filled up a pot of water and I turned it on to boil. I'm going to be adding some candles to these boxes, and I'm using the double boiler method. So I just got some plain pillar candles from Dollar Tree and I'm melting them down in a bowl on top of the boiling water. So I just let them sit and melt all the way down. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some wicks into the bottom of my boxes. You could totally use the wicks from the candles, but they did break apart on me, so I had to get some new ones. I've also added in some of the Dollar Tree wax melts into the wax just to give it a bit of a nice green color and a little bit of scent. Then I'm going to fill up the gift boxes and I'm going to use some popsicle sticks to hold the wick in place as the wax sets. Once the wax sets, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the wicks, and then these candles are ready to use. And this turned out super cute, you guys. For my next craft, we're still in that same home goods aisle, and I came across these giant cardboard tags. I thought they would be perfect for a Christmas craft. I took them home and I began by removing the letters, so it really doesn't matter what they say because we're taking these letters off anyways. And I gotta tell you guys, these letters came off so easy. I'm not even sure they were really that glued on. I just used my little crafting razor and I slid it underneath and they peeled right off, no problem at all. Once I had all my letters removed, I cleaned up some of the edges a little bit, and then I'm going to come in with some beautiful scrapbooking paper. You may recognize this from my Temu haul video. I chose this checker pattern here. Unfortunately, it doesn't go all the way up to the top of the tag, so I'm going to have to cut and paste the paper in, but I just drew a little line and measured and then cut out the paper, and then I put a piece on top, try to match it up the best I could so that I could get the lines perfectly matched up, and I just traced around that and cut that out as well. To attach the scrapbooking paper to these cardboard tags, I used Mod Podge to stick it down. So I just took ordinary Mod Podge, brushed it out all over the tag, and then put my scrapbook paper back over top, trying to make sure that I didn't get a lot of air bubbles in there. I kind of wish I would have done the iron method with this and let the Mod Podge dry and then iron it on afterwards. but I was a little bit impatient with this one. I used an X-Acto knife to cut out the paper from the circle where the twine's going to go back through. And then I took this beautiful washi tape. You may remember this as well from my Temu haul video. I actually got a lot of really great items in that haul. So I'm going to be using the washi tape around the edges just to make them a little more finished. So I put it all the way around the tag and did the same thing on the other tag. Now you'll notice the other tag is a different scrapbooking pattern. I wanted two different ones, and I did use a different washi tape on this one as well. I like the differentness and the contrast here. Going back to my checkered pattern tag, I'm going to make a little wreath to put on top. So I'm going to be using the garland ties from Dollar Tree. I'm just wrapping two together and then working them into a circle to form a wreath. To make this a little more zhuzhed up though, I'm going to take some Dollar Tree picks. Aren't these Dollar Tree picks gorgeous? They don't even look Dollar Tree actually. And I'm going to work these around the wreath. So I stuck one in, and then I took a little bit of floral wire and I attached it on, and then I wrapped that floral wire around the garland ties so that it gave me kind of a structure to push the tags, sorry, not the tags, to push the greenery into the wire, and it just holds everything in place. I find this a lot easier than like gluing greenery down. I don't really like working with hot glue, like a ton of it, because I find it gets very messy. So you'll see here I'm shoving it into that wire and it's holding it in place. Now I will use a little bit of hot glue in some odd places just to get the leaves to stay down where I want. Then I'm going to tie a really simple bow. I'm going to show you guys how to do a simple double bow. You're going to take your middle finger and you're going to wrap it around 4 times, and then you're going to stick your thumb out, and then you're going to wrap it around twice here. Then you're going to take the long end and you're going to pull it over and then back underneath, and then you're going to take it back again right in the middle, wrap it under that first piece, and then you're going to pull it really, really tight. And I like to pull mine tight so that I know my bow is going to hold. Then once you have that nice and tight, you just simply pull the ribbon off your middle finger and then pull that piece that you wrap 4 times around out, and then it's the other tail of your bow. And then you just fluff out the pieces and you have a very simple double bow. And this is the easiest way I found to do it. I'm going to attach that at the top of my wreath with a bit of hot glue, and then using hot glue, I'm going to put it just on the garland tie at the back, and I'm going to fixate it right into the middle of my tag. Now you can hang it with some twine onto the tag, but I didn't want my wreath flopping around. Then I have these rusty bells that I am going to place on here as well with just a little bit of floral wire, and then this wreath part is finished. For the next part of the craft, to bring it all back together, I'm going to bring in my second tag again, and I'm going to put some twine through. Now again, I didn't want my tags flopping around, so I actually glued them in place where I wanted them to sit. So I wanted them to sit kind of offset from each other. So I just added a bit of hot glue to secure them so that they would sit just like this when they hang. So I put the twine at the top and I wrapped it around to make it a little more decorative, and here is the finished tags. So I picked up this next piece at Dollar Tree at Halloween time, but don't despair. They have stuff just like this for Christmas that you can get. It's the candy little pattern ones. So don't think just because Halloween's over you can't make this craft. I began by taking off all this itchy, I don't even know what this stuff is called, but it's itchy and it feels really gross. So I ripped it off all 3 pieces, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take them apart. They're just easier to work with once you have them apart. And I'm going to begin by taking some yarn that I had in my craft stash, and I'm going to tie it on around the outside edge. Then I'm going to work around all these little nubs that they have on these things that they originally used to attach that itchy, gross stuff. I'm going to go all the way around once, working just off of those little notches. We're not going to leave it open like this. I'm just giving myself a nice base layer of yarn so that I have no gaps or holes when I'm finished. So I tie that off on the end once I get back to where I started, and then I'm going to come in again with the yarn, tying a new piece on, and this time I'm going to go all the way around into the middle and back out. So the reason why I did the first layer as well too is because if I don't, my yarn is going to get caught on all those little notches and nubs every time I go around this way. So you just continue working around until you've gone all around the whole circle until you get back to where you started. Once you get back to where you started, you go ahead and you tie it off, and that part is complete. For the middle part, we're going to tie a new piece of yarn on, and then again, we're going to go around those little notches just as if we were going to be putting that gross stuff back on. That's our base layer. We're going to cut that off and we're going to tie it off. And then for our second layer, we're going to go ahead and instead of starting at the outside point of the inner circle, we're going to go ahead and start right in the middle, and we're going to put a little dab of hot glue, put a piece of yarn there, and then we're going to go around in a spiral formation, working the yarn around, working from the middle out. You could do this any way you want. You don't have to wrap the yarn this way. I just thought this is the way that looked the prettiest without just going around the circle in one big swoop of yarn. This gives just a little bit of contrast, I guess. So I'm going to work the yarn all the way around the middle. Once I get to the end, I'm going to go ahead and add a nice big dose of hot glue just to make sure it's secure, and then using a popsicle stick, I just shove that yarn piece down in and under, and this is what it looks like when it's fully wrapped. I'm going to take some decorative twine that I had in my craft stash, and I'm going to wrap it around the circle, not completely, just almost in strips. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to create something that looks like an ornament. So for this step, you can really do whatever you want. Decorate these however it suits your taste. You do not have to follow this exactly. For the top of the ornament, I have these wooden rings, and I'm going to go ahead and paint them with Rub and Buff 3/4 of the way down the ring. And then I'm going to take a popsicle stick and I'm going to paint that with Rub and Buff as well. And I'm also going to go ahead and cut the popsicle stick at the end, cut the end off so it's not curved. I want a nice straight edge. And then using some washi tape, I'm just going to put that on top of the popsicle stick just for a little bit of decoration. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue the popsicle stick about 3/4 of the way down the wooden ring. So this is going to create our ornament top. So we're going to put the circle on first and then put our stick on. So this is one of those crafts where you can really stretch your legs and really have fun with it. Jazz these up any way you want. I had some Merry Christmas ribbon that I tied around one, and then I overlaid some velvet ribbon on the ends on each side just to make it look like a striped ornament. I also had these little tiny mini ornament bells that I attached to the top of the other one. Experiment with different colors of yarn. Really, really have fun with this and make it your own. Once you're happy with your ornaments, you just take the little steel rings that were on attaching these eyes before and just put it all back together. Now, I didn't want mine to hang straight, so I kind of put them a little cockeyed. And then to finish off the back, just so the yarn doesn't come loose or anything, I added just a little bit of linen fabric just to make it nice from the back as well, and to kind of keep everything in place and make sure nothing comes out. So I just hot glued that linen fabric right over top, and this is what they look like complete. So this year, everyone online is going on about having a Ralph Lauren Christmas. I'm not leaving Dollar Tree because if you look at the price of Ralph Lauren stuff, I can't even say that, Ralph Lauren stuff, it's nuts, you guys. And I knew I could make these hurricane candle holders for way cheaper with stuff from Dollar Tree. So let's get into it. So we're going to start with a basic Dollar Tree crystal candle holder. And I also picked up these ones. Doesn't matter about the color because we're going to paint them. So I have this Shake and Spray black spray paint. I'm going to go ahead and spray paint them and let them fully dry. Then I'm going to come in with some Rub and Buff in European Gold, and I'm just going to brush it over top of all the candle holders. And you can see it totally changes the color to this nice antique gold. Then I got these hurricane vases at Dollar Tree. This is a new shape that I haven't really seen before, and I actually really like it. It looks like a lantern. The candle holders that I bought to go inside the vase actually fit nice and snug, so I didn't need to worry about gluing those. But I'm going to add a little bit of Gorilla Glue around the top of the candle holder, and I'm going to set my hurricane right on top. Easy peasy. This one is done, and it's super, super easy. Now, you can leave these plain crystal if you find two candle holders that match, but I like the gold look, and I think these look classy and elegant and do not look like they're from the Dollar Tree at all. And best part is we saved ourselves hundreds of dollars. When I spotted this card at Dollar Tree, it looked just like a picture to me. So I headed to the home decor aisle and I found this frame with this wish cross inside. And I thought this would be perfect to set right inside of here and create a little shelf sitter. So I used my electric scissors and I cut out the cross. I couldn't get my other scissors through it, so that's why I used my electric scissors, but then they slipped and I ended up breaking the frame. But no big deal, I just glued it back together with some Gorilla Glue. Then I took the same black spray paint that I used in the last DIY. I spray painted it, let it fully dry, and then came in with the same rub and buff, and I brushed over the frame in the gold to just really jazz this up and make it match the card a little bit better. Once I let this frame fully dry and all the rub and buff was dry, I took apart the card. So this card is actually really cute from Dollar Tree, and I may go back and get some more to actually just use as Christmas cards. It comes with this nice little seal to put on the envelope, but I'm going to save that for another DIY. I'm going to take the card and I'm going to put it inside the little ledge where the cross used to sit. I thought about cutting the back off the card, but I decided to leave it on because it makes it a little bit more secure. Then I took some pretty Christmas scrapbooking paper and I traced around the frame, cut that out to make a little backer for the back of the frame and just to finish it off a little nicer. Once I had the backer on and I put everything together, I put the card back in, secured it with a little bit of hot glue just to make sure it stays nice, put the scrapbooking paper on the back with hot glue as well, and I decided that I didn't really like the lines on the inside of the frame where that cross used to sit. It was just looking a little weird to me. So I took this little decorative ribbon that I had and it fit really nicely into that line to kind of cover it up and act more intentional. So I just secured it with a little bit of hot glue all the way around the frame. When I got to the part where the card was, since I had already glued the card in and I couldn't run the ribbon there, I didn't want to put it in front because it would cover the Merry Christmas on the bottom of the card. So I just kind of tucked it behind and then continued gluing around. And this is what it looks like completed and finished. This one might be my absolute favorite in this whole video. I have all these pretty scrapbooking papers and I love using them to cover up things from Dollar Tree. So I took this wooden hanger, actually sorry, it's not wood, it's MDF, but I picked out 3 matching scrapbook papers with these cute little vintage people on them and I traced around the circles and then cut them out. I did cut the circles a little bit wider than the actual circumference of the circle on the hanger because I wanted to make sure the edges would be nice and crisp. So I'm going to cut them off after I glue them on, but I want to get myself a good starting point, so I cut them out first. I'm going to take some Mod Podge and brush it on the circles, making sure I do a nice thin even layer, and then I'm going to go ahead and let that fully dry. Once it's dry, I'm going to come in with my mini crafting iron, and this just reheats back up the Mod Podge when I put the paper down, and I find that you get less air bubbles if you do it this way. Make sure you use a parchment paper in between or the ink will run. Once I had all of 3 attached and ready to go and stuck onto the hanger, I went ahead and flipped them over and used an X-Acto knife to cut off the overhanging paper. And I find if you do it this way, you get a nice crisp edge. Now this was a little hard to do with this hanger still attached, but I really didn't want to take it apart since it was put together so nicely. To finish off the edges, I used some washi tape just to go around to cover that ugly MDF and just brighten up the edges a little bit. And I overlapped it and then folded over the edge around it just so that these papers were nice and secure on here, and as well it gives it that nice little vintage look, almost looks like vintage ornaments. For the top of the hanger, I added a few little sprigs of greenery, working them into the twine and securing on the back with hot glue, a little bit of holly berry. These are the berries from Dollar Tree that you can get in the package. And then as well, I added on some glitter Mod Podge over top, just a little bit, not very heavy. I didn't want to fully cover the images, but I want to give them a little sheen and shine when this twists. So I added some glitter Mod Podge and as well some sugar dust, which is basically just really, really fine glitter. And then I just kind of moved it around and shook it off, and it makes these look really vintage and really cute. For the top as well, I thought it needed just a little something extra too. So I had this little rusty star. I threaded it on some wire and then I wrapped that around the top. And here it is finished. Again, you guys, I have to say this one might be my actual favorite from this whole video. It's so cute. For this one, you're going to head to the hair aisle and you're going to grab this package of foam curlers. We're going to open them up here and we're going to be tying on some ribbon. Now, this is a pre-warning about this DIY. I have never done something like this before, and when I started, this is my first time doing it. I got substantially better the more I did. So for my first one, I just added some hot glue and I started wrapping the ribbon around. It was very uneven, very fluffy, very out of place, and there were a lot of gaps. For my second one, I decided to do a little bit of space in between and then go back over it with another piece of ribbon to try to kind of combat those weird gaps when I bend these into candy canes. It's a little hard to explain as I'm working here right now, but you'll see in a minute. So when I left these gaps, I went all the way around to the bottom, and then I came back with another piece of ribbon at the top, kind of overlapping, because when I would bend these, the ribbon would kind of break apart a little bit. So this was truly a learning process. You see here, I'm bending it and it does bend a little bit better. My first one that I did, I went back over with the red and white stripe to kind of fix some of those bends a little bit, and that seemed to work. But it wasn't until I did the red ribbon that I got really good. So if you cut your ribbon on an angle like I just did, and then you slide that angle straight up against the curler, just like there, then you're going to secure that with glue. Then you have your ribbon on an angle and it twists so much nicer. And I actually found it easier if I add the hot glue to the ribbon rather than the foam roller. So you just pull the ribbon tight and then you twist the curler in your hand and let it go all the way down nice and smooth. And this works so much better. Then you're going to do the exact same thing at the top again, but you're going to switch your angle. And you're going to start on the other side where the green is still exposed. And then you're going to wrap again gluing on the ribbon and twirling it and wrapping it all the way down. So it took me several tries to get the hang of this. And by the time I got to my last curler, I was an expert. So I might grab another pack of these and do this again. But regardless, they all turned out pretty good. Then I took some barbecue skewers and I poked them into the bottom, up under the ribbon, into the foam. I'm going to be putting these on sticks to use in an arrangement, but you could hang these on your tree. You could do anything with them, really. This is a little piece of foam. I always save my foam from packages that I get in the mail and stuff. It works so well for arrangements. And then these little picks, I'm just going to stick in here. If you guys want links to anything you see in the video, I'm not going to be putting a ton of links in the description. But if you see something you like and you want a link for it, I will certainly try to get that for you. So just comment below what you want the link for, and then I'll add it to the description. I'll come back and tell you when it's been added. So always let me know in the comments if you guys want links for anything. This is the finished arrangement. I've placed it here by my sink, and I think it turned out so cute. Thank you so much for checking out this video, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it inspires you to get crafty and creating with Dollar Tree stuff this Christmas. Let me know in the comments what you think of these crafts, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell if you want to be notified when I post my next Dollar Tree Christmas video. I'm already working on it, and it's going to be even better than this one. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the next video.